Oh, hello. Did you know that there's ways to play Magic the Gathering other than Commander? And no, I don't mean formats like Standard, Pioneer, and Modern. I mean formats that exist today how Commander once did. Casual, kitchen table formats created by the community and not managed or supported in any way by Wizards of the Coast. Well, I suppose Pioneer is a format that's not supported in any way by Wizards of the Coast, but that's actually a different video. Casual Magic is the heart and soul of Magic the Gathering, but so often when many Magic the Gathering players think of casual Magic, they think of Commander. But Commander, and I'm sorry to have to say this, just isn't casual Magic anymore, at least not like it was. It's the very center of present-day Magic the Gathering, controlled and managed by Wizards of the Coast, who designs the majority of cards and products for it. Sure, you can still play Commander casually, but I'm sorry to sound all hipster about this, the format's gone corporate, man. Luckily, Commander is not the only way to play Magic casually, nor do I think it is even the best way to play Magic casually these days. There are truly so many great casual formats in Magic. I recently did an entire video about Value Vintage, a fantastic way to play with cards from throughout Magic's history, all while spending no more than $30. I also recently played Pai Gow Magic with Reed Duke and Andrea Mengucci, a fantastic casual way to get fun games of Magic with a friend, and all while needing nothing more than a single booster pack each. Actually playing with the cards in a booster pack? What a concept! And there's so much more. From the basic land game to games played entirely theoretically without any cards at all, like 3-card blind. More players need to realize that casual Magic formats are alive and thriving. And therefore, in this video, I want to highlight 5 of the best casual Magic formats. Many of these formats have been around for a decade or even longer, steadily growing in popularity over time as more and more players find out about them. People play these formats between rounds of a tournament, at open play nights at their local game stores, or sitting around the kitchen table, just as Richard Garfield intended. No, really, these are the ways to play Magic that he loves the most. So, presented here are 5 of the best casual formats in Magic the Gathering. Now, I will be omitting Value Vintage and Pai Gow Magic because we just covered both of those recently, but there are so many more casual ways to play Magic. Let's discuss them today. We'll be taking a look at all of that and more, but first, is there someone behind me? Oh, thank goodness. Yuck. I hate the feeling of being watched. It just gives me the jitters. Luckily, I don't have a job where anyone watches me. You know what else I hate? Getting that feeling anytime I go to check out of an online store. I wish I could just get some, what's that word? Oh yes, privacy. And Privacy is the sponsor of today's video. Yeah, that snuck up on ya. Privacy is a service that helps you feel safer when you shop by protecting your payments with virtual cards. With Privacy, you can generate unique virtual card numbers for each merchant or purchase, giving you the ability to pause, close, or limit spending on your terms. Privacy protects your data with a team of real humans, no robots included, because we've all seen Terminator. We know what they can do. It's happening. Oh, I just sat on my phone. Privacy also allows you to use those scary websites that seem a little too good to be true without adding any hassle to the checkout process or threat of data breaches. And unlike some other companies, Privacy doesn't sell customer data, ever. But Prof, you're asking, if they don't sell my precious data, how do they make money? Well, Privacy collects transaction fees called interchange from merchants. So go to privacy.com/TalarianCC. That's privacy.com/TalarianCC and get your $5 sign-up bonus today. The $5 can be used on your first purchase with Privacy. Privacy also has a free plan with no transaction fees for domestic purchases. Once you see how easy it is to manage your spending, you'll want to use it for everything. Just click the link in the video description and make Privacy part of your daily routine. And thank you, Privacy, for sponsoring this video. All right, coming up at number 5, we have a favorite game for longtime Magic players. Imagine a format where every single card is a split card that makes unhinged's who, what, where, when, why look narrow? Number 5 on our list is Mental Magic, the competitive player's casual format. What do I mean by this? Well, Mental Magic is a fast casual format where you do not battle with the cards you draw. No. You battle with your comprehensive knowledge of the Magic card pool. To play, you'll need a stack of randomized draft chaff, an opponent, and a brain. Shuffle up a stack of cards, it doesn't matter which ones. This will be the deck you and your opponent share. Same deck, same graveyard, different hands. You each draw a hand of 7 cards and then begin to play Magic. Here's the twist. Each card in your hand is every card with the same mana cost except the card in your hand. I know that may seem a little confusing, but here's what I mean. Say you have an Underworld Breach in your hand. You know, typical draft chaff these days. It has a mana cost of 1 generic and 1 red mana. You may therefore play the Underworld Breach from your hand as if it were any card in Magic's entire history that has a mana cost of 1 generic and 1 red mana. Whatever's best for the situation you're in. Maybe you want a proactive threat, so you play it out as a Quarry Steel Cutter. Maybe you need a removal spell, so it's Abrade. Maybe your opponent spent their first couple of turns playing out a bunch of small creatures, so you cast it as a Pyroclasm to wipe the board. You can pretend the card has other keywords, such as Kicker. Maybe you have 5 mana in play and you want to cast it as Fires of Victory. Pretend it has Replicating, cast it as Siege of Towers. Pretend it has Offspring and cast it as a Gate Instigator. The only 1 in a red card you cannot cast is Underworld Breach. You have to pick something other than the card in your hand. The skill in Mental Magic is that this is not an open book test. You can pick any card in Magic history with the same mana cost, but only if you can remember the card without looking it up. To add to the matter, once a card has been chosen by a player, it can't be chosen again by either player. In order to cast your spells, each card in your hand is considered to be a double-faced card whose backside is a Utopia. Utopias are basic lands that have every basic land type and tap for any color. There's a lot of optional rules for this format, such as what to do about cards in your graveyard or whether to ban certain kinds of cards, such as tutors. But it's casual. You and your friends can choose whichever of these rules you like to play with, provided you stick with the most important rule. The cards in your hand are everything but the cards in your hand. Your first game of Mental Magic can be intimidating, especially if you're playing against a much more experienced player, but it's a very fun, scrappy format that kind of works as a yardstick for how much you know about Magic's rich history. If it were easier for new players to pick up, I'd have it higher on the list, but it makes the top 5 cut as a beloved casual format for highly invested Magic the Gathering players. But don't worry, new players, because next up we have another shared deck format, though this one is much better suited for new and casual players than Mental Magic is. Number 4 on our list is Battle Box, a test of your grasp on Magic's raw fundamentals. Battle Box, originally known as the Danger Room, was designed by Brian DeMars, but it's gone on to become many Magic the Gathering players' favorite casual format. Like Mental Magic, you're sharing a deck with your opponent, but unlike Mental Magic, the stack of cards you play with is a curated environment of fun, often low-powered spells that run the gamut of Magic card design. Ideally, every card in the Battle Box is roughly on the same power level as one another. There are usually no lands in a Battle Box deck. Instead, each player has access to a side pool of 10 lands, 1 of each basic land and 5 tapped dual lands that cover the color wheel evenly. On your turn, you may choose and play one of the lands in your land pool. Once you've played all 10 lands, you may not play anymore. I mean, come on, don't be greedy. 10 mana is plenty. The beauty of building a Battle Box is it's entirely your prerogative what you include. Maybe you want to play again with cards that were fun in their draft format, but don't see much play anywhere else these days. Maybe you love graveyard synergy or artifacts, so you compile a collection of cards that fit one of those themes. Maybe you love original Innistrad as much as I do, and you want to build a Battle Box that consists entirely of cards from the original Innistrad block. But whatever you do, the options are literally limitless. The decks can be as big or as small as you want, but most players choose somewhere between 100 and 200 cards to have plenty of variety from game to game. It's more fun if you don't know which card you'll draw when. You can also customize the lands you pick. If you build an artifact battle box, maybe the lands are the 5 monocolor artifact lands and 5 bridges from Modern Horizons 2. Maybe you want one player to get duels from the ally color pairs and the other player to get the enemy color pairs. It's up to you. It's your battle box. Battle Box is an ultimate test of in-game fundamentals. You're looking to scrape together a win using cards that are rarely more than the sum of their parts. You likely haven't played with these cards much in other formats. You certainly can't rely on drawing any particular busted card. Your ability to leverage cards with relatively flat power levels to gain an advantage over your opponent is the difference between winning and losing with a Battle Box. But most importantly, Battle Box is a low-cost, low-investment, infinitely replayable casual format that appeals to new and experienced players alike. Building a battle box is just as much an exercise in self-expression as a commander deck or a cube is. If you build a box entirely out of draft chaff, you can spend as little as $20 or $30 to build a battle box that you can fiddle with and upgrade forever if you want. I love battle boxes. It's awesome. It's a slam dunk inclusion on this list, one of the best casual formats there is. Now, number 3 on the list is probably the least well-known of all the casual formats I'll talk about today, but I have hope that this will change over time as it's one of my personal favorite casual formats. Number 3 on our list is Ryan Overturf's Twobert format. A Twobert is a kind of cube that's designed to be played by either 2 or 4 players, though of course it's named after the 2-player variant. Ryan Overturf first pioneered this 2-player cube format with his 2020 article, The Proper Way to Do 2-Player Cube Drafts. I'll go ahead and link that article as well as many others by Ryan in this video's description. To sum it up, it can be difficult to pull together 8 Magic the Gathering players for a full 8-player draft night. What's much easier is grabbing one friend to jam some games. But jamming 2-player games over and over again with the same few decks can get stale pretty quick. Twoberts solve this problem by taking the personalized and replayable nature of Cube Draft and applying it to a 2-player format. The way Twobert works is like this. You assemble a singleton list of 180 cards. These can be anything, but you're generally going to want a nice spread of colors. Some gold cards, some colorless cards, and some mana fixing. From there, you and your opponents begin what Ryan dubbed Minneapolis Draft. To Minneapolis Draft, both players make 8 packs of 7 cards each. You draft simultaneously as you would a regular draft. Both players open their first pack without revealing the contents. You draft 1 card face down, then you trade your packs. You then take 2 cards from the pack you get passed. Then you swap packs with your opponent again. You'll then take 2 more cards from the pack, then burn the remaining 2 cards. That means putting them face down on the table. You repeat this process for the remainder of each player's 8 packs until you each have a pool of 40 cards. From there, you build a deck like you would any other limited format. The quirk to this draft is the mix of hidden and revealed information. Because you are just passing 2 packs back and forth, it's possible to know 40% of the cards in your opponent's pool just by paying attention to what was taken out of the pack between your first pick and your 4th and 5th picks. As such, many players elect to draft their 2nd and 3rd cards face up. In other words, the 2 cards you take from the pack your opponent opened. This sharing of open information levels the playing field a bit, making it so you don't need to spend brain energy memorizing your opponent's picks. It makes the draft more fun as you start to get a sense of what your opponent is building while you assemble your own pool. Of course, you don't know everything, and crucially, whatever the best card was in the pack that your opponent took is unknown to you. The balance of open and closed information is a lot of fun, as it makes for an interesting element of mid-draft metagaming. What's great is that as Twoberts are 180 cards, you can also do a more traditional draft with 4 players. 4 sets of 3 packs with 15 cards each equals 180. A 4-player draft night using a Twobert can even be a fun shakeup for your next Commander Playgroup's Magic Night. Twoberts are endlessly customizable, endlessly replayable, and a ton of fun. Ryan has been continuing to tinker with his own Twoberts for quite some time. He's written tons of articles on the format and spoken about it on a number of different platforms. At the start of this year, he even made a video on the format, which you can check out here. And honestly, the only reason Twobert isn't higher on the list is that the top 2 casual formats are simply too goated, as the kids say. 6-7. But by its own merits, Twobert could easily be the best casual format around. So what are the top 2 casual formats for Magic the Gathering? Well, coming in at number 2 on our list is perhaps one of the most beloved player-designed formats of all time. The mother of all shared deck formats, the subject of one of Rhystic Study's best videos, not to mention one of my favorite episodes of Shuffle Up and Play ever, and the impetus behind an upcoming Secret Lair product that I think may be the greatest Secret Lair product ever made. It's Dan, also known as Forgetful Fish. Dan was created by Nick Floyd, a longtime Magic the Gathering player who loves to brew his own Magic mini-games. In the case of Dan, you and your opponent play a shared 80-card deck, usually mono-blue, where the only win condition is the Arabian Nights card Dan. Dan is a funny little card. For 2 blue mana, it's a 4/1 fish that reads, Dan can't attack unless defending player controls an island. It also has the additional drawback of, when you control no islands, sacrifice Dan. In virtually every Magic format prior to Nick Floyd's creation of Forgetful Fish, Dan was an utterly unplayable card. I mean, not only do you need to have islands in play in order to keep Dan alive, but your opponent needs to control an island in order for you to attack them, and all this for a dinky little 4/1. But in the context of Forgetful Fish, Dan is freaking awesome. First of all, as both players are piloting a shared, usually mono-blue deck, both players will almost always control an island by the time they cast Dan. I say almost always because the deck's primary removal method is a set of weird 1-mana cards that alter the text of permanents in play, replacing one basic land type for another. These removal spells are Magical Hack, Mind Bend, and Vision Charm. By swapping out Island for any other basic land type, Dan dies immediately. In a game of Dan, Magical Hack and Mind Bend are 1-mana spells that read, Destroy target Dan, while Vision Charm reads, Plague Wind, target player's Dan. The rest of the shared deck is a mix of card advantage and stack interaction that fits the shared deck nature of the format. Memory Lapse doesn't just counter your opponent's spell. It also makes it so you draw that spell on your next turn. Brainstorm doesn't just mix up the card in your hand, it also manipulates your opponent's draw step. Scrylands and Halimar Depths suddenly become forms of interaction in addition to card selection. Games of Dan are grindy, swingy, and incredibly intricate. Because you always attack in multiples of 4 damage, you can track your life total with a single d6, beginning at 5 and dropping down by 1 each time you're hit with a Dan. Finding your windows to jam a Dan versus continuing to bide your time and accumulate cards is an entirely contextual decision. For a format that's pretty rigid in its base construction, the gameplay of Dan is actually incredibly diverse and nuanced. Recently, Wizards of the Coast announced one of their best Secret Lair products ever, a pre-constructed Dan deck featuring brand new art for the Forgetful Fish itself, as well as many other treatments for the cards included. Unfortunately, as great as this product is, the Secret Lair team not only did not credit Nick Floyd at all in their announcement, but they didn't even reach out to him to let him know that they took the format he created and promoted and popularized and worked on for years upon years, and that they'd turned it into a product. It really is a shame because I can tell you, having seen this product in hand, that it is absolutely an A+. But the fact that they didn't so much as credit Nick Floyd, the creator of the very product they're selling, really leaves a sour taste in my mouth about this otherwise incredible Secret Lair. Again, if you haven't seen Rhystic Study's video on Dan, check it out. I think it's one of the best ones he ever made. And if you haven't seen our Shuffle Up and Play with Rhystic Studies playing Dan, check it out there. Honestly, this episode, I know it's not Commander, it kind of is one of my favorites. If you haven't seen it, please give it a watch. It's just everything I love about Magic the Gathering, right there in one format. It's Dan. But as awesome as Dan is, and it is indeed awesome, there's still one casual format that's even better. The number 1 best casual format of all time is called Legacy. Legacy is an awesome Eternal format where you get to play with cards from Magic's complete multi-decade history. This includes powerful cards like Force of Will, Reanimate, and Wasteland, as well as the original dual lands. Believe it or not, once upon a time, this thing we now call Legacy, this casual format that WotC does not ever support, was once the main way to play Magic the Gathering. But now, in no small part to WotC's insistence on honoring the reserve list, which, as we have covered in previous videos, is an utter lie, and the many many price issues inherent to this commitment to needless scarcity, Legacy is a format that pretty much only diehard fans who bought in early or can afford to pay exorbitant prices are able to play. As such, it's become the equivalent of a casual format. All right, I'm just kidding. Legacy isn't technically a casual format. After all, the main way people play Legacy in paper nowadays is in competitive tournaments. But it does feel like an unsanctioned format given how little investment and interest Wizards of the Coast has in it. Legacy to Pioneer? First time? Meme? Wizards of the Coast even made the decision a couple of years back that Legacy tournaments were not allowed to award regional championship invites. They went so far as to say mixed format team tournaments, where one of the formats was Legacy, could not award an RC invite to the player in the Legacy seat on the winning team, even if the other two players did earn an RC invite for their victory. Totally nonsensical and disappointing. Why, Wizards? Why? The upside of being ignored by Wizards of the Coast does mean that many local game stores opt to hold proxy-friendly Legacy nights for those players who are interested in the format but don't otherwise own $500 and up Magic the Gathering cards. If your local game store has one of these nights, I highly recommend you check it out. Legacy is a ton of fun, and it's a real shame that it's one of Magic's most gate-kept formats, and gate-kept by Wizards of the Coast's own insistence on the reserve list. Once again, if you'd like to see our video on the reserve list, yada yada yada. Alright, so while I love Legacy, it's not actually a casual format in the same way as other formats on this list are casual formats. I love you, Legacy, and I wish it were possible for more players to play your format, but there is a real #1 casual format in Magic, and it isn't you. The real #1 casual format of Magic the Gathering isn't just the best casual format. Many Magic the Gathering players believe it is the best format in Magic overall, and I might be one of those players, to be honest, because the best way to play Magic is Cube. Cube is a customized, limited environment that you, the designer of the cube, get to make yourself. The goal of Cube is to create your own draft set that looks, well, however you want it to look. Imagine that you got to create your own Magic the Gathering set using cards from throughout Magic's history, no new designs. What cards would you include in that set for your ideal draft experience? Well, that's Cube in a nutshell. Build your own draft set, invite 7 friends over, and have a draft night. There are limitless ways to design your own limited environment. Many classic cubes are built within a specific constructed format's legality. The most popular of these is the Vintage Cube, which is by far the format that gets played the most on Magic Online. Vintage Cube is extremely fun, high-powered gameplay where you can literally draft a Black Lotus, Ancestral Recall, and the rest of the Power 9. We actually played with a paper Vintage Cube on an episode of Shuffle Up and Play, and that episode is linked in this video's description. But your cube doesn't have to be limited to just vintage power. You're the designer of this set after all, and you can make whatever you want, such as a mono blue cube, a pauper cube using only commons, a Ravnica cube using only cards from Ravnica. There's also things like Carmen Clomperrin's famous Proliferate cube, which I'll link in this video's description, or you can just watch us play, yes, on a prior episode of Shuffle Up and Play. But no matter how you make it, a well-designed cube with a unique theme is nothing short of a work of art. Companion Cube, designed by Greg Cortazzo, is a cube that allows you to run any card you'd like as a companion, using the original companion rules. You can companion Ragavan, you can companion Mox Opal, you can even companion a land, which lets you run as little as 12 lands in your deck, since you have such reliable access to your first land drop. One of the most brilliant cubes ever designed is the 100 Ornithopter Cube, designed by Andy Mangold, one of the hosts of the popular cube podcast Lucky Paper MTG. Yes, linked in this video's description. 100 Ornithopters is a cube where the only creatures, and indeed the only way to win the game, are, you guessed it, 100 copies of the card Ornithopter. The cube takes the Magic game system and contorts it, beautifully I might add, into what feels like an entirely different game. There are aggro decks that put +1/+1 counters on Ornithopters or equip them with big equipment like Colossus Hammer, and control decks that keep the board clear of Ornithopters until they're ready to start swinging in with a couple boosted Ornithopters. There are tons of combo decks that generate storm or assemble engines of ornithopters that keep coming back to be sacrificed to a goblin bombardment, or a weaponize the monsters. The Cube community is a thriving one with tons of events that are fun for new and experienced players alike. There's even a convention all about Cube, as CubeCon happens every year in Madison, Wisconsin, where players draft dozens of cubes over the course of the weekend. And there's many other events like this, such as Cube for a Cause, located in New York City. If you'd like a complete guide to how to build your own cube, I have a video for that. You can check it out here by clicking the I, or again, linked in this video's description. Truly, Cube is the apotheosis of Magic the Gathering. It's Magic at its best. I really cannot recommend it highly enough. You don't need a lot of money to build your first cube. It doesn't even have to be a pauper cube for it to be budget and affordable. And again, if you want to check out my quintessential video to Cube, you can do so here, and many other links in this video's description. But there are so many other casual formats out there, and now I want to hear from you. What's a casual Magic the Gathering format that you love that I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, while all Magic the Gathering formats, casual or otherwise, can be played at your kitchen table, they are also best enjoyed at your local game store. So when it is reasonable, when it is affordable to do so, try and spend your money at that local game store, because you're supporting your Magic community when you do.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
What's up? It's Shuffle Up and Play, and today we have balanced our decks against a medium deck.
Mid? Do they call it? I think the kids call it mid.
But okay, f off.
Your deck was bonkers, crazy, powerful.
They replaced a couple cards.
And how many was that?
20? I have a really easy turn one, a Gloom Lake Verge land.
Drop return.
And then I'm gonna drop return.
This is what I assume your lives are usually like. As influencers.
You're an influencer.
You're an influencer.
I want to tell you this. That's what you do.
Death Cap Glade.
Is that a no cap? What's the, it's cap, yeah, cap, cap.
I want to attack, but I don't think anybody's naked. You got a 4/4 froggy.
Can't be naked.
What? Is this a common vibe?
Sometimes I say things and I don't know why.